Patrick Williams is on pace to return to the Chicago Bulls on the court on Friday, and this could be really big for the Chicago Bulls, but Billy Donovan may do something that a lot of people have been calling for, may kind of indicate the future of the Chicago Bulls. What that is, we'll talk about it all and more on today's Chicago Bulls Central.
You are now tuned in to Chicago Bulls Central, your number one place for all Chicago Bulls news and content.
What's going on, Bulls fans? Welcome to another episode of Chicago Bulls Central, your number one spot for everything Chicago Bulls related. I'm the host, Haize, but more importantly, you guys can follow the channel at Bulls Central Pod on every social media platform we happen to be on. With that said, let's go ahead and get into this content for today. So this one comes from KC Johnson. Patrick Williams had a really good scrimmage again today and is on pace to return to the Chicago Bulls on Friday with a 20 to 24 minute restriction there when it comes down to the minutes restriction. And Josh Giddey also was held out of practice, but we'll update that here in a second. But overall, the Patrick Williams return, I know a lot of Bulls fans are kind of over the Patrick Williams experiment. I understand it. I'm not about to come in here and try to sell you on it. It'll all be told on the basketball court, but this is important for the Bulls to get everybody back out there as healthy as possible, as soon as possible, and just figure some things out. Patrick Williams was really key to the Chicago Bulls, especially their in the paint defense, right? That was a good thing for it. So, we'll see what happens when it comes down to that. But the thing that made me the most excited about this is hearing Buzelis say him and Patrick Williams played a lot together in the scrimmages over the course of this week, and they won some games. And the reason why I say this could be the future of the Chicago Bulls. When you look at where the league is going, where it used to be dominated by guard combos, which still can be dominant. I'm not saying that it can't. But where the league is kind of going now is versatile forwards and bigs, right? And so if Buzelis and Patrick Williams start playing more together, right? And while Patrick Williams' offense hasn't come along to the way that the Bulls fans needed, and I understand that, I'm not trying to knock it. I think Buzelis has a higher offensive ceiling, whereas Patrick Williams has a higher defensive ceiling. But I tell you what, if you can start getting these guys, if they can build some rhythm together and start playing together, that's a big thing. Don't overlook what it can mean to get Patrick Williams and Buzelis in rhythm together. That actually could be a pretty big thing for the Chicago Bulls team. Again, it's all theoretical. The Bulls could get another forward to pair with Buzelis long-term in the draft. It could be Julian. It could be whoever, right? But I think that's something that you do want to explore, because with Buzelis and his growth that he's done defensively already within his rookie year, we already know what Patrick Williams is defensively, if nothing else. Like, that could be that versatile, switchable defense that Billy Donovan's been trying to employ that we just can't do when it comes down to it. So, that's something that's interesting to look out for, I think, when it comes down to it. And just to see how it could turn into nothing. I want to be clear. It could turn into absolutely nothing. We could see some minutes of Buzelis and P. Will together that we end up just looking at and being like, it was cool on paper. It didn't work out, right? So I'm not trying to sell that it's a for sure thing that can work. But it is something that kind of highlights what this Bulls team has really done this year. More than anything that the Bulls have done this year is that they've started modernizing the team. When you look at what the team and how they played offense in prior years and things like that, it was old school, right? It was literally early 2000s, maybe some mid 2000s. You can look at that. They've really modernized the offense so far. And now, if you can continue to modernize your team, that's really what you want to go towards. So we'll see if this lineup with Patrick Williams and Buzelis out there together, if it does turn into something, it could be a big deal for the Chicago Bulls. And and again, I'm just saying theoretical in the scheme type thing that they're trying to do. But it could very well, if you want to get a more modern day forward rotation, there could be a lot of forwards in this draft as well. Because I tell you what, Asa Newell and Buzelis on a team together on the court together, something that I would be very interested in. But that's speculation and story that we'll get into as the season goes on. But overall, good to see that Patrick Williams is on pace to be cleared and get back out on the court. I think that's a really good thing as well. And we'll see what develops out of that. We'll see what develops in out of that. And so I think that's a step in the right direction. Now, the concerning part of this update today: Josh Giddey missed practice today with back soreness, back tightness is the exact way, and said that there's optimism that he'll play Friday. Now, this could just be the PTSD that I have as a Chicago Bulls fan, But when you say there's optimism that he could return, that may mean that there's some doubt that he will, right? They're saying that there's that wording. Listen, I've been a Bulls fan my whole life. Maybe that wording means nothing. Maybe it's just me being triggered as a lifelong Bulls fan. But I tell you what, you tell me there's optimism that they could play. My mind immediately goes to, all right, so you're telling me that there's a chance he might not. What does that look like? That's a little concerning for me. But hey, maybe it's nothing that I need to be worried about. And at the end of the day, it'll all be okay and work itself out. And we'll see what comes down to that. But so when it comes to Josh Giddey, we'll see what comes out of it with Giddey, man. I hope overall he is able to play. I think that you still want everybody. You don't want to gain somebody back and lose somebody, even though I know some Bulls fans will say, well, Haize, Josh Giddey going down will definitely help the Chicago Bulls and we'll be a better defensive team. And then we can see that backcourt of Ayo Dosunmu and Kobe White together, which you're right. I'm not saying that I wouldn't be excited about seeing that too, but I don't wish bad on injury on nobody. I want everybody. I want my team to have everybody out there. But the Modest Buzelis, Patrick Williams combo, that's something I'm really excited about. I need to see that combo. I don't know how many. I probably can look it up. Hold on, let me see how many minutes they played together this season. Give me 1 second. Let's take a look. I think I can find that lineup. Give me 1 second. Let's go. Let's see. And Modest has become such a different player since Patrick Williams has gone down. It really wouldn't matter if it did, but I'm just interested to see. Let's see. Lineups with Patrick Williams and Modest Buzelis. Let's see this. So Patrick Williams and Modest Buzelis have only played 32 minutes together since the start of this. Well, clearly the start of this season, and they're a -16 when on the court together, a -22.9 net rating, an offensive rating of 100, and a defensive rating of 122. God damn, those are terrible numbers. Those are god awful numbers. But again, like I said, Modest is such a different player than what he was earlier. And you look at these, it's 1 minute, 1 minute, 3 minutes, 5 minutes. So it's not like they played a lot of minutes together. So I'm not going to freak out on it too much, but hey, we'll see. That'll be something to monitor and see what it's like going forward, right? Weather forecast for Friday is thunder and lightning. Hey, that'll be a great nickname for them. What do you think the Bulls can get for THT, Craig, and Carter? The ball-headed hoe, Javon Carter, not much. Torrey Craig, probably a second, maybe 2 seconds, depending on how bad the team feels like they need him. THT, that's an interesting, mainly because, and here's the reason. THT is balling for the Bulls. But the thing that would a prospective champion or a contending team is that THT has been balling for the Bulls numbers-wise because of his usage rate. When he's out there, THT's mainly been playing minutes with Dalen Terry, Julian Phillips, like the guys that aren't really taking shots, so his aggressiveness stands out, and he's able to have a high usage rate. He's not going to have that if he goes on a contending team or a playoff team. And actually, when THT plays out on the court with Kobe, Zach, or Vooch, which, if a team acquires them, they'll be looking to do, it's not really that great of numbers. So that's something to look out for. And then I also think that THT is on a vet minimum deal that's 1 year. And so rather than give up assets for THT, they could just wait till the offseason, is what I think. So hopefully Billy Donovan will finally learn how to utilize Patrick Williams and Modest Buzelis together the best way now. That would be great. It would be. Definitely would be. Haize, love the new studio. Appreciate that. Hit that like. Hey, appreciate that. Zach ain't getting traded. Everyone losing interest. No one wants him. See, you got to stop believing. You got to learn how to bob. I could tell you're young, and I don't mean that as a slight because I used to be there. I think we all used to be there as Bulls fans. But you gotta learn how to read between the lines sometimes. So don't think the teams are losing interest. I don't think that's the case. It's all posturing right now. So So that's what you got to kind of look at there. Don't believe all the hype. Don't believe everything you read. I miss my Chicago Bulls games. We got Charlotte and Toronto. Hopefully these 2 wins, because after that, those 2 games, we got Boston back-to-back. Yeah, those Boston. Matter of fact, after that, after the Charlotte and Toronto games, if you look at the rest of December, the rest of December to the beginning of January, there's a couple of easy games in there, but hey, the Bulls about to be tested, my boy. What do you think about the list Casey Johnson gave on teams that think could end up being interest in LaVine? I don't understand the Rockets pick, but the Magic makes sense. No, the Rockets actually make sense as well. Here's why the Rockets do make sense. What are the Rockets great at? Defense. What do the Rockets have a lot of? Young wing players. And I think when you look at Zach LaVine can be a more consistent version of what they want to get out of Jalen Green. And so if the Rockets are looking to move and try to get closer to contending in the West this year, trying to solidify their chances to come out that West, Zach LaVine actually could make a lot of sense for that Rockets team, honestly. Magic, yeah, he makes a whole lot of sense. We talked about the Magic a lot in the offseason. He makes a whole lot of sense for that Magic team. 2 wins without Giddey, and fans will start saying, let Giddey go for a bag. Oh, that's a big fact. That's a big fact. When I watch P. Will highlights, he really looks like a small forward on offense. The way he gets into the mid-range like DeMar used to, but his handle is too sloppy to get to his spot super consistent. The thing is, Patrick Williams can't create for himself, right? And that's why I always say it doesn't matter if he's small forward or power forward, because either way, Patrick Williams needs a point guard that's going to create for him. So, salute Haize in the chat. The new BG is fire. Thank you for that. Thank you. Like, listen. I put a lot of work in putting in this background. Like, putting up, those are individual panels. You have to put the mugs up one by one. I wish that you could just order a sheet of the motherfuckers. Like, it is what it is. She's Haize out here clean. Meanwhile, my hair looking like an unkept lawn. Listen, I just left the barber about an hour and a half ago. If the Magic did trade for LaVine, I wonder if they would center the trade package around Isaac or KCP. Probably, but will the Bulls take that is the question there. Besides missing his defense, I was surprised how much I missed Patrick's passing. Didn't realize he played point forward at times in college this year. I mean, that's always kind of been the ceiling of P. Will is a point forward, but we never really used him that way, mainly because his dribble in the NBA ain't really anything. So, P. Will undersized his strength. P. Will's undersized has the strength to battle with some centers. Yeah, he absolutely has, and he's done it. We've seen it. Need to go full rebuild mode. Disagree with that. I think that where this team is now, you have a lot of young pieces that you don't need to go full rebuild mode. I think you could do heavy retooling, but rebuilding taking is different, but we'll see what happens there. Haize, do you want to see the Bulls win some games, or would you rather see them keep losing for the pick? I want to see them compete, or whatever the results are, the results. I think that tells you where you sit in the league. I just want to see them compete and develop. That's the thing that I want to focus on. The NBA is bogus for not having the Bulls play today. Why? They need rest. I want Patrick to give us at least 15 points and 8 rebounds a game. That would be good for him. Listen, it's not. I've grown past the point where it's not scoring with P. Will. Like, especially if Billy Donovan's using him to guard centers, I'm not expecting P. Will to score a bunch of points. Now, I'm expecting him to take open shots. And I think that P. Will, being a little bit more aggressive, can easily get to 12 to 13 points per game. But I'm outside the points when it comes down to P. Will because of how Billy Donovan specifically uses him. Regardless of whether Zach gets traded or not, the Bulls team will be bad enough to be a lottery team, at least for this year. Yes, but it's not just about being in the lottery. It's about where they sit in the lottery, because keep in mind, they could be a lottery team and be 14, but then they still lose their pick. That's why you see so many people talk. Like, if the Bulls just own their pick outright, I don't think you'll hear as many fans talk about tanking. I think because we're naturally a bad team. But because the Bulls pick has to be in the top 10, that's where you start hearing some of that conversation, random blanks. Love the new background. So as the OG, listen, the lights are a permanent fixture. Like here, you remember when we had the small lights though, and they're like this long. But the lights are a permanent thing here. I'm never getting rid of the lights. That's just kind of our thing that we've done literally since I started this show. So they're always going to be a part of the process. But yeah. Do you think Zach LaVine trade with Houston would involve something like Jalen Green players and some picks? I would think so, because I don't think you can have a team with Jalen Green and Zach LaVine on it. So I think that it probably would center around Jalen Green, but we'll see. We'll see. I'll probably cover that on tomorrow's daily episode, by the way. Are you worried about this P. Will injury being reoccurring at least? Yes, absolutely. 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 Foot injuries are weird, especially when he's up to 238 pounds now. Like, hey, I hope Chicago beat Boston at least one of those 2 games. Hey, I mean, we'll celebrate it. We'll be covering it here. He said that it was something that he just has to go out there and play on, and that statement kind of worried me. Yeah, I mean, listen, foot injuries are weird in general. Like, foot injuries are just one of those things in the NBA that it's hard to ever really heal from completely from a foot injury in season. It just is, right? That's why when you typically see people go down with foot injuries, they're either out for a long time or quickly can become season ending, because those are really difficult things to return from. So the fact that the White Sox had the worst MLB season in history and got nowhere near top 5 is why I'll never support tanking, even though those screaming for Bulls to tank for Cooper Flag. I feel you, Melvin. I completely feel you on that one. But all right, y'all. Thank you guys for tuning in. Wanted to get this quick live in here with the news. Make sure you guys are following the show at Bull Central Pod. You can send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns. BullCentralPod@gmail.com. Lastly, if you want to leave a text message and our voicemail for the mailbag, the number to do so, 773-270-2799. We are the #1 spot for everything Chicago Bulls related. That's thanks to you, lovely and beautiful people. And like I like to end every episode on, go Bulls. Love you guys. See red if you can, y'all. Peace.
This has been a presentation of the Break Media.